The Terran expeditionary fleet dropped out of fold space in perfect formation. 200 ships materialized around the battlefield like ghosts becoming solid. Each vessel bore the same impossible technology as the Indomitable, their hulls shimmering with spatial distortions that made them seem to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display in horror. His 70 dreadnoughts, the pride of the Dominion fleet, suddenly looked small and primitive compared to the sleek human warships that surrounded them. "Sir," his communications officer whispered, "we are receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel." The main screen activated to show a woman in a crisp military uniform. Her expression was professional but cold. "Dominion commanders, I am Admiral Sun Young of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. Captain Hyunwoo has briefed us on the situation here. Admiral Morkash, his flagship still crippled from the human kinetic attack, managed to respond. Human Admiral, you face the combined might of 2 Dominion battle groups. Withdraw now or face destruction." Admiral Sun Young's expression didn't change. "Admiral, you have just threatened a rescue fleet. Your forces opened fire on a humanitarian mission and targeted defenseless shuttles. Under Terran military code, this constitutes an act of war." The word sent ice through Kethvar's veins. An act of war. Against a species that had just demonstrated the ability to defeat their fleets without taking damage. "However," Sun Young continued, "Captain Hyunwoo has requested that we offer you an alternative to military action. We are prepared to negotiate." This was unexpected. Species with superior technology usually demanded immediate surrender. But the humans seemed genuinely interested in avoiding further conflict. "What terms?" Kethvar asked carefully. "Complete withdrawal of Dominion forces from Coalition space. Release of all prisoners of war. Recognition of the right of all species to self-determination. And formal diplomatic relations between our governments." Morkash's voice cracked with outrage. "Impossible! The Dominion does not negotiate with primitives." "Admiral Morkash," Sun Young said calmly, "preliminary scans show that your empire controls approximately 47 star systems. The Terran Federation currently maintains settlements in over 1,500 systems. We are hardly primitive." The number was staggering. 1,500 systems made humanity one of the largest civilizations in the galaxy, yet they had remained completely hidden until now. "That's impossible," Morkash insisted. "Our scouts would have detected such a large empire." "Your scouts detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Sun Young replied. "We prefer to observe before making contact. Your recent actions suggest that caution was justified." Dr. Su Jin, still imprisoned aboard Kethvar's flagship, listened to the exchange with growing satisfaction. She had tried to warn the Dominion about underestimating humanity. Now they would learn the truth about Earth's children. "Admiral Sun Young," Kethvar transmitted, "what guarantee do we have that humanity will honor any agreement we make?" "The same guarantee you offer other species, Admiral. Our word, backed by our ability to enforce it." Captain Hyunwoo's image appeared alongside the Admiral's. "If I may add something, Admiral Kethvar, we came here to rescue survivors. That mission is complete. We have no interest in conquest or domination, but we also will not allow aggression against innocent people. And if we refuse your terms," the human Admiral's expression remained neutral, "then we will enforce them. 200 ships is only our initial response force. The full Terran fleet numbers in the thousands. Thousands of ships with technology that made Dominion weapons useless. The implications were terrifying." "Sir," Kethvar's tactical officer whispered, "we are detecting additional contacts, more human ships arriving from different directions." Indeed, the sensors showed new energy signatures appearing throughout the system. The humans had surrounded the Dominion fleet completely. "Admiral," his science officer added quietly, "our computers have been analyzing the human technology. Their fold space drives don't just allow faster-than-light travel. They can move instantly between any 2 points in space. They could have ships anywhere in the galaxy within minutes. This changed everything. Humanity didn't just have superior technology. They had strategic mobility that made traditional military thinking obsolete." "Ambassador," Minicio materialized on the bridge of the human flagship through some form of matter transportation that Dominion science couldn't explain. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but her presence commanded immediate attention. "Admirals," she said, addressing both Kethvar and Morkash, "I am Ambassador Mincio of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. I am authorized to negotiate a peaceful resolution to this situation." "What does humanity want from us?" Kethvar asked. Coexistence, Minseo replied simply. We want to trade, share knowledge, explore the galaxy together. But we cannot allow the aggressive expansion that has marked your empire's history. The Dominion has ruled for 3 centuries, Morkash protested weakly. And now there is a new power in the galaxy, Minseo said gently. The question is whether we work together or work against each other. On the Indomitable, Commander Ye Jin received a promotion to captain during the negotiations. Her tactical innovations during the battle had impressed the human high command. Captain Ye Jin, Admiral Sun Young transmitted, you will be taking command of the new battleship Resilient. Your mission will be to work with coalition forces to establish peaceful contact with other species. It was a significant honor. The humans were not just winning through superior technology, but by inspiring others to join their cause. Dr. Su Jin was finally released from Dominion custody as part of the negotiations. When she arrived aboard the human fleet, she brought with her detailed intelligence about Dominion operations throughout the galaxy. Captain Hyunwoo, she reported, the Dominion has been suppressing dozens of species who want independence. With their military power neutralized, many worlds will likely rebel. Then we need to be ready to help them, Hyunwoo replied, but as peacekeepers, not conquerors. The negotiations lasted for 3 days. Admiral Kethvar found himself genuinely impressed by the human approach. They could have simply destroyed the Dominion fleet and imposed their will by force. Instead, they offered genuine partnership. Why? He finally asked Ambassador Minseo, why offer us equality when you could simply take control? Because forced submission creates resentment, she replied. We want allies, not slaves. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. Admiral Morkash refused to accept the new reality. He attempted to rally other Dominion commanders to reject the human terms. But word of the battle had spread throughout the Empire. Most commanders chose to negotiate rather than face the impossible human technology. The final agreement established the Galactic Cooperation Accord. The Dominion would maintain control of their core worlds, but would release subject species that desired independence. Humanity would provide protection for these new nations while helping to establish peaceful relations between all parties. This is not over. Morkash transmitted privately to Kethvar as the fleets prepared to depart. The Dominion will find a way to defeat these humans. Perhaps, Kethvar replied, but I think we would be wise to learn from them instead of fighting them. As the human fleet prepared to escort the rescued coalition survivors to safety, Captain Hyunwoo made one final observation. Admiral Kethvar, your empire lasted 3 centuries because you were the strongest. But strength without wisdom eventually falls to something stronger. We offer you the chance to join something better than empire, a community of equals working together. The Dominion Admiral watched the human ships depart with mixed feelings. His empire's age of absolute dominance was over. But perhaps something better could take its place. Throughout the galaxy, species that had suffered under Dominion rule received news of the battle. For the first time in centuries, they had hope. The invincible empire had been defeated by people who fought to protect others rather than conquer them. The age of human expansion into the galactic community had begun. But unlike previous dominant powers, humanity offered partnership instead of subjugation. The galaxy would never be the same. In the end, no one could challenge the Dominion until a Terran battleship entered the field. But the real victory wasn't military. It was the choice to build something better than empire, something based on cooperation rather than conquest. The stars themselves seemed brighter with the promise of a more peaceful future. Admiral Morkash arrived expecting to find the wreckage of a single human ship scattered across space. Instead, he found Admiral Kethvar's flagship surrounded by his own redirected missiles, and the mysterious human vessel calmly continuing its rescue operations. Kethvar, Morkash transmitted, explain the situation. Your report mentioned difficulty with a primitive ship. The humans are not primitive, Kethvar replied grimly. They possess technology beyond our understanding. Our weapons cannot harm them. Impossible. Stand aside and let experienced commanders handle this. Admiral Morkash deployed his 20 fresh dreadnoughts in a crushing formation around the Indomitable. His ships carried the newest Dominion weapons, including the dreaded planet crackers that could split worlds in half. Captain Hyunwoo watched the new arrivals with mild interest. Engineering any change in our defensive requirements? Negative, sir, Donghyun replied. Their weapon signatures match the previous attackers. Fold space matrix can handle whatever they throw at us. Communications. Inform the new admiral that we are conducting humanitarian operations under interstellar law. Boram opened a channel to the Dominion reinforcements. Attention Valthran vessels. This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Terran Battleship Indomitable. We are engaged in rescue operations for survivors of your recent battle. We request you do not interfere with our humanitarian mission. Morkash's reply came immediately, filled with contempt. Human vessel, you are surrounded by 70 Dominion dreadnoughts. Surrender immediately or face annihilation. Admiral, Hyunwoo said patiently, we have already had this conversation with your colleague. Perhaps you should consult with him before taking action. I consult with no one when dealing with primitives. All ships fire at will. The second Valthran attack was even more devastating than the first. Morkash's battle group unleashed their planet cracker weapons alongside conventional firepower. The combined energy release was visible from neighboring star systems. When the light faded, the Indomitable remained completely unharmed. Status report, Hyunwoo requested calmly. Fold space matrix absorbed all incoming energy, Dong-hyun reported. Hull temperature increased by 4 degrees total. Systems optimal. This time the human response was different. Yejin turned from her tactical station with a grim expression. Captain, they targeted our shuttle during that last attack. One of our rescue craft was nearly hit. Hyunwoo's demeanor changed instantly. His voice remained calm, but there was steel beneath the words. Did they intentionally target our rescue operations? Analysis suggests yes, sir. The firing pattern was designed to interdict our shuttles. I see. Communications, open a channel to both Dominion admirals. The main screen split to show both Kethvar and Morkash. The newer admiral looked smugly confident while Kethvar appeared deeply troubled. Admirals, Hyunwoo said quietly, you have just crossed a line. Attacking rescue operations is a violation of every civilized code of conduct in the galaxy. We recognize no codes but our own, Morkash replied arrogantly. Then let me explain our code. We came here peacefully. We defended ourselves when attacked. We showed restraint when provoked. But you have now threatened innocent people under our protection. Kethvar felt a chill at the change in the human captain's voice. Something fundamental had shifted in the conversation. What are you saying, human? I'm saying the rules just changed, Admiral. Weapons target the lead ships of both battle groups. Kinetic rounds disable their main engines only. Aye, sir, came the reply from the Indomitable's weapons officer. The human battleship's railguns activated for the first time. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired solid projectiles at tremendous velocity. Chunks of dense metal accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. The Valthran shields, designed to deflect energy attacks, were completely useless against physical projectiles. The kinetic rounds punched through their defenses like paper and struck exactly where the humans intended. 2 Dominion flagships suddenly found their main engines disabled by precision strikes. The damage was surgical, calculated to cripple but not destroy. What happened? Morkash demanded of his engineering staff. Sir, we've been hit by solid projectiles. Our shields cannot stop physical objects moving at such velocities. Main drive is offline. Across the fleet, panic spread as the implications became clear. If the humans could disable their engines with precision shots, they could just as easily destroy the ships entirely. Admiral Morkash, Hyunwoo said, you now have a choice. Withdraw your ships and allow us to complete our mission, or discover what our weapons can do when we're not trying to be gentle. Dr. Sujin, monitoring the communications from her new cell, smiled grimly. She had tried to warn them that humans were dangerous when protecting others. The Dominion was about to learn why humanity had survived the hostile environment of Earth. Sir, Kethvar's tactical officer reported, long-range sensors are detecting the approach of those energy signatures from the Terran system. Multiple contacts moving at speeds that should be impossible. How many? Kethvar asked, though he dreaded the answer. Preliminary count suggests over 200 vessels, sir, and they're all using the same spatial distortion technology as the human battleship. Admiral Morkash refused to accept the situation. All ships concentrate fire on the human vessel. Maximum firepower. The entire Dominion fleet opened fire simultaneously. 70 dreadnoughts unleashed everything they had, creating an energy storm that dwarfed their previous attacks. But this time, something different happened. Instead of simply absorbing the attack, the Indomitable seemed to collect the energy and redirect it. The incoming fire was gathered by the ship's fold space matrix and focused into tight beams that shot back at the Dominion fleet. Using their own weapons against them, the humans disabled 12 more Vilethran ships in a matter of seconds. The precise targeting destroyed only their weapons and engines, leaving the crews unharmed but helpless. Impossible, Morkash whispered as his own fleet's energy turned against them. Captain Hyunwoo opened another communication channel. Admirals, you have now seen what happens when you threaten people under our protection. We can continue this demonstration, or you can allow us to complete our rescue mission in peace. Kethvar looked at his tactical display. 13 Dominion ships were disabled, victims of their own redirected firepower. The human ship remained completely undamaged despite facing the concentrated fury of an entire battle fleet. Morkash, he transmitted privately, we must withdraw. These humans possess technology that makes resistance futile. Never, Morkash replied. The Dominion does not retreat from primitives. Look at your tactical display. They are not primitives, Engineer Dong Hyun called out from his station. Captain, the approaching Terran fleet will arrive in approximately 2 hours. Thank you. How are our rescue operations proceeding? Final shuttle is returning now, sir. All survivors recovered successfully. 3,047 Coalition personnel are now safely aboard. Excellent work, people. Prepare for departure once the shuttle is secure. Yejin looked up from her station. Sir, what about the Dominion fleet? They still have 57 operational ships. They know where to find us if they want to continue this conversation, Hyunwoo replied. But I suspect they'll want to think very carefully about their next move. On the Dominion flagship, Kethvar watched the human shuttles complete their mission. The aliens had accomplished exactly what they came to do, despite facing overwhelming odds. They had rescued every survivor while demonstrating the complete futility of Dominion military power. Admiral, his communications officer reported, we are receiving multiple transmissions from other sectors. Word of this engagement is spreading throughout the galaxy. Kethvar felt his stomach sink. The Dominion's reputation for invincibility was their greatest weapon. If other species learned that humans could defeat their fleet so easily, rebellion would spread across the entire empire. Sir, the science officer added, preliminary analysis suggests the human ship uses controlled manipulation of space-time itself. Their technology appears to be centuries beyond our own. How is that possible? They were supposed to be primitive. Perhaps, sir, they wanted us to think they were primitive. As the Indomitable prepared to depart, Captain Hyunwoo made one final transmission to both Dominion admirals. Gentlemen, we came here to save lives. That mission is now complete, but you should know that the galaxy is watching this engagement. Your actions here will determine how the rest of the civilized species view the Dominion. The human battleship began to move away from the battlefield, its fold space drives creating ripples in reality itself. Behind it, the rescued Coalition survivors were already being treated by human medical teams. Admiral Kethvar stared at the departing vessel and realized that everything had changed. For 300 years, the Dominion had been the ultimate power in the galaxy, but now there was something new, something that made their mighty fleets look like toys, and that something had friends coming. Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the last enemy ships burn in the darkness of space. The resilient Coalition had fought bravely, but bravery meant nothing against the might of the Vilethran Dominion. Their fleet of 200 warships now drifted as twisted metal and cooling plasma. Status report, Kethvar commanded, his forearms folded behind his back in satisfaction. All enemy vessels destroyed. Admiral, his tactical officer replied, no survivors detected. The Coalition's resistance in this sector has ended. Kethvar nodded slowly. For 300 years, the Dominion had ruled the outer spiral with absolute power. Every species that challenged them met the same fate. The Vilethran war machines were unstoppable, their exotic matter cores providing energy that smaller civilizations could barely imagine. The bridge crew worked quietly around him. They had seen this scene many times before. Another species had thought they could stand against the Dominion. Another species had been wrong. Sir, the communications officer called out, we have a priority message from the Supreme Council. Kethvar walked to the command console. The holographic image of Supreme Leader Vorthak appeared, his scarred face showing mild interest. Admiral, the Council has received disturbing reports from the Inner Rim, Vorthak said. Some species are forming new alliances. They speak of finding powerful allies. Let them form their alliances, Kethvar replied. We will crush them all the same. Perhaps. But there are strange energy signatures appearing on our long-range sensors. Unknown technology. The science division cannot identify the source. This was unusual. The Dominion had cataloged every known species and their capabilities. Their database contained information on thousands of civilizations, all of them inferior to Valthron might. Show me these readings, Kethvar ordered. The hologram changed to display sensor data. The energy patterns were indeed strange. They seemed to fold in on themselves, creating distortions that their instruments could barely track. Whatever created these signatures used technology the Dominion had never seen before. Where are these readings strongest? Kethvar asked. The Terran system, Admiral. A small yellow star with several planets. Our scouts report it contains a primitive species called humans. They have only recently developed spaceflight. Kethvar dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. Primitive species often create unusual energy patterns when they experiment with technology beyond their understanding. They probably destroyed themselves trying to build weapons. Deep in the ship's detention levels, Dr. Sujin sat in her small cell, listening to the Valthron guards speak in their guttural language. She had been captured 6 months ago when her research vessel stumbled into a Dominion patrol. As a xenobiologist, she understood enough of their speech to know they had just destroyed another fleet. But she also heard something else that made her heart race. They had detected energy signatures from the Terran system. They were talking about humans as if they were nothing more than primitive animals. If only they knew. Sujin had been part of the deep space exploration program. She knew what humanity had discovered in the dark between stars. She knew what they had built in the asteroid fields and gas giant moons while the galaxy ignored them. The Dominion thought humans were primitive because they wanted to be thought of as primitive. A guard approached her cell, carrying the standard nutrient paste that served as food for prisoners. He spoke to her in broken galactic common. Your species will be next, human. The Dominion will find your world and take it like all others. Sujin looked up at him calmly. You might want to reconsider that plan. The guard laughed, showing his sharp teeth. What can your primitive people do against us? You barely have weapons. We don't need weapons, Sujin said quietly. We have something better. What could be better than weapons? Time to think. Back on the bridge, Kethvar studied the tactical displays. The Coalition fleet had been completely destroyed, but something bothered him. Their final transmission had been strange. They had sent a message toward the edge of the system, using an encryption method the Dominion had never seen before. Communications, decode that final transmission, he ordered. We cannot, sir. The encryption uses mathematical principles our computers do not recognize. This was troubling. No species should have mathematical knowledge beyond the Dominion's understanding. Mathematics were universal. The same equations worked everywhere in the galaxy. Keep trying. I want to know what they said. Hours passed as the fleet secured the battle zone. Standard procedure required them to examine the wreckage for useful technology. Most species had nothing worth taking, but the process was thorough. Admiral, the science officer called out. We are detecting a new energy signature at the edge of the system. Kethvar moved to the sensor station. A single contact was approaching from the outer planets. It moved at steady sublight speed, making no attempt to hide or run. Analysis? Unknown vessel type, sir. The energy signature matches those strange readings from the Terran system. The ship appears to be primitive in design. Kethvar stared at the display. A single ship was approaching a Dominion fleet that had just destroyed 200 enemy vessels. Either its crew was incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Size estimate? Approximately 800 meters, sir. Much smaller than our dreadnoughts. The bridge crew exchanged glances. A ship that size would barely qualify as a light cruiser in the Dominion fleet. What did its crew think they could accomplish? Open a communication channel, Kethvar ordered. Let us see what manner of fools approach us. The communication system activated, but instead of the usual alien speech, they heard something unexpected. The voice was calm, measured, and spoke in perfect galactic common with no accent. Attention, Dominion vessels. This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Terran Battleship Indomitable. We have detected survivors in this system and request permission to conduct rescue operations. Kethvar stared at the communication display. A human ship. A single human ship approaching a fleet that had just demonstrated the futility of resistance. Terran vessel, Kethvar replied. You are entering a restricted military zone. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. There was a pause. Then the human voice returned, still perfectly calm. Respectfully, Admiral, we cannot abandon survivors. We request safe passage to complete our rescue mission. The audacity was beyond belief. A primitive species was making demands of the Dominion fleet. Kethvar felt his anger rising, but also a strange curiosity. What gave these humans such confidence? You face 50 dreadnoughts, human. You have one small ship. Surrender now and your death will be quick. Another pause. When the human captain spoke again, there was something in his voice that Kethvar had not heard from any enemy before. Not fear, not desperation, but something that sounded almost like pity. Admiral, I understand your position, but we have our own duties to fulfill. We will complete our rescue operations with or without your permission. The communication ended. On the tactical display, the single human ship continued its approach, steady and unafraid. Kethvar looked around his bridge. His officers waited for orders, their expressions showing the same mixture of disbelief and amusement he felt. A single ship challenging the entire Dominion fleet. It was almost funny, but something about the human captain's voice bothered him. No species had ever spoken to the Dominion with such casual confidence. Not even the great empires of the Inner Rim had shown such calm in the face of certain death. All ships, Kethvar commanded. Battle stations. Let us show these humans why no one challenges the Dominion. The combined firepower of 50 Vialthran dreadnoughts struck the Indomitable like the fury of an angry star. Energy beams capable of melting asteroid belts converged on the human battleship in a display that lit up the entire system. The attack lasted 30 seconds. When the light faded, Admiral Kethvar expected to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, the Indomitable hung motionless in the void, its hull undamaged and its energy signature unchanged. Report, Kethvar demanded, his voice tight with disbelief. Sir, the tactical officer stammered. All weapons fired successfully. Direct hits confirmed, but the target shows no damage. That's impossible. Run a full sensor sweep. The science officer worked frantically at his console. Admiral, the human ship appears completely unharmed. Their hull integrity is at 100%. Energy levels are stable. It's as if our attack never happened. On the Indomitable's bridge, Captain Hyunwoo calmly adjusted his uniform and turned to his crew. Status report. Fold space matrix absorbed the entire attack, Engineer Dong Hyun reported with satisfaction. Energy was redirected into parallel dimensions. Hull temperature increased by exactly 2 degrees. Excellent. Communications, open a channel to the Dominion fleet. Boram activated the transmission system. Channel open, sir. Admiral Kethvar, Hyunwoo said pleasantly. Thank you for the demonstration of your weapons capabilities. Now, if you don't mind, we have rescue operations to complete. The main screen switched to show the rescue mission progress. Human shuttles were already moving between the debris field and the Indomitable, collecting survivors from damaged coalition ships. The operation proceeded with calm efficiency despite the 50 enemy dreadnoughts surrounding them. Kethvar stared at the communication screen in shock. Human captain, explain what just happened. How did you survive our attack, Admiral? Surely you don't expect us to reveal our defensive capabilities to a potentially hostile force. Potentially hostile? We just fired on you with our entire fleet. Hyunwoo seemed genuinely puzzled by this comment. Yes, and we defended ourselves. That's what defensive systems are for. But you haven't actually threatened our rescue operations, so we don't consider you hostile yet. The casual dismissal of a fleet-killing attack as merely defensive was beyond Kethvar's comprehension. No species in the galaxy possessed such technology. Energy absorption on this scale violated every known principle of physics. Sir, his tactical officer whispered. What are your orders? Kethvar hesitated. In 300 years of Dominion expansion, no enemy had ever survived an alpha strike. Their standard doctrine had no provisions for this situation. Prepare kinetic missiles, he finally commanded. If energy weapons are ineffective, we will try physical projectiles. Meanwhile, Dr. Su-Jin had been moved to a different cell after her unauthorized communication was discovered. But she had managed to establish a new contact using her hidden emergency transmitter. Human ship, she whispered into the tiny device. They are preparing kinetic missile attacks. Hundreds of warheads targeted at your position. On the Indomitable, Yejin received the warning. Captain Dr. Sujin reports incoming kinetic attacks. Thank her for the information. Weapons, prepare countermeasures. Sir, should we target their missile launchers? Negative. Intercept only. We're here to save lives, not end them. The Valthron missile barrage launched moments later. 300 nuclear-tipped warheads streaked toward the human battleship, their combined explosive power capable of shattering continents. But as they approached the Indomitable, something extraordinary happened. The space around the human ship seemed to bend and twist. The missiles, traveling at tremendous velocity, suddenly found their trajectories curving away from their target. Instead of striking the human vessel, the missiles curved in impossible arcs and flew harmlessly past. Some disappeared entirely, as if they had been folded out of normal space. Others emerged from spatial distortions traveling in completely different directions. What is happening? Kethvar roared at his science officer. The humans are manipulating gravity fields around their ship. They're creating localized space-time distortions that redirect incoming attacks. Our missiles cannot reach them. The Admiral looked around his bridge at the stunned faces of his officers. In minutes, the humans had demonstrated technology that made Dominion weapons completely useless. Sir, the communications officer called out. The human captain is requesting to speak with you again. Captain Hyunwoo appeared on the main screen, looking slightly apologetic. Admiral, I wanted to inform you that your missiles are now traveling toward your own fleet. You might want to activate your defensive systems. Kethvar spun toward the tactical display. Indeed, several redirected missiles were now approaching Dominion ships, their guidance systems confused by the spatial distortions. All ships. Emergency evasive action, he ordered quickly. The mighty Dominion fleet scattered as their own weapons threatened to destroy them. Point defense systems activated frantically, shooting down missiles that had somehow been turned against their creators. When the crisis passed, Kethvar found himself staring at a tactical situation beyond his understanding. The human ship continued its rescue operations while his entire fleet struggled to avoid being destroyed by their own weapons. Captain Hyunwoo, Kethvar said slowly. What do you want? As I said before, Admiral, we want to complete our rescue mission. We have collected approximately 2,000 survivors so far. 3 more trips should handle the remainder. And then what? Then we leave. We have no interest in conquest or conflict. We simply help people who need help. This was unlike any enemy the Dominion had ever faced. Species that possessed superior technology always used it for expansion and domination. But these humans seemed genuinely uninterested in anything except their rescue mission. On the rescue shuttles, Coalition survivors watched in amazement as human crews worked to save their lives. The humans showed no fear despite being surrounded by the most powerful fleet in known space. They treated wounded aliens with the same care they would show their own people. Why are you helping us? Asked Commander Veltar of the Coalition Navy. The human medic, Haewon, looked up from treating his injuries. Because you need help. That's reason enough. But we are strangers to you. Our species has never met before. Doesn't matter. You're people in trouble. We help people in trouble. Veltar had fought against the Dominion for years. He had seen countless acts of cruelty and indifference. The simple humanity of the human response was almost incomprehensible to him. Back on the Indomitable, Engineer Dong Hyun monitored the fold space generators with professional satisfaction. Captain, defensive matrix is performing perfectly. We could maintain this configuration for weeks if necessary. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, Hyunwoo replied. How are the rescue operations proceeding? Final shuttle run is launching now, sir. All survivors should be aboard within the hour. Yejin looked up from her station. Sir, I'm detecting additional Valthran ships approaching from the outer system. Looks like reinforcements. Admiral Kethvar received the same report from his sensors. Admiral Morkash's battle group is approaching. 20 additional dreadnoughts. But instead of relief, Kethvar felt growing anxiety. If their combined fleets could not damage a single human ship, what would happen when more humans arrived? And they would arrive. Species with such advanced technology always had more ships. Sir, his science officer reported, I'm detecting multiple energy signatures approaching from the direction of the Terran system. Kethvar's blood went cold. How many? Difficult to determine, sir. The signatures are unusual, but preliminary estimates suggest at least 200 contacts. The Admiral stared at the tactical display, watching as his reinforcements approached the human ship. But now he wondered if 20 additional dreadnoughts would be enough. or if 200 would be enough. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Dominion faced an enemy they could not simply overwhelm with superior firepower, and that enemy seemed to have friends coming to help. The bridge of the Indomitable hummed with quiet activity as Captain Hyunwoo studied the tactical display. 50 Valthran dreadnoughts formed a battle line between his ship and the debris field where Coalition survivors waited for rescue. Engineering, report, Hyunwoo said. Calmly, Engineer Dong Hyun looked up from his console. All systems optimal, Captain. The fold space generators are running at normal parameters. We can maintain full defensive posture for 72 hours. Communications, any response from the survivors? Boram, the communications officer, adjusted her headset. Yes, sir. 17 escape pods and 2 damaged frigates are broadcasting distress signals. Approximately 3,000 personnel need immediate evacuation. Commander Ye Jin turned from the tactical station. Captain, the Dominion ships are moving to surround us. Classic pincer formation. They clearly intend to prevent any rescue attempt. Hyunwoo nodded. Standard intimidation tactic. They want us to see how hopeless our situation appears. The main screen flickered as an incoming transmission arrived. Admiral Kethvar's image appeared. His forearms spread wide in what humans had learned was a gesture of dominance among his species. Human captain, Kethvar said, his voice carrying the tone of someone addressing a particularly slow child. You are outnumbered 50 to 1. Your ship, while unusual in design, cannot possibly withstand the firepower of a Dominion fleet. I will give you one final chance to surrender. Hyunwoo stood calmly before the viewscreen. Behind him, his crew continued their preparations with the quiet efficiency that marked all human operations. Admiral Kethvar, Hyunwoo replied, I appreciate your concern for our safety. However, we have people to rescue. Surely your fleet can spare the time for us to complete a humanitarian mission. Several Valthran officers could be seen in the background of the transmission, their expressions showing amusement at human naivety. Kethvar himself seemed to find the situation entertaining. Humanitarian mission? Kethvar repeated. These survivors fought against the Dominion. They are our enemies. You wish to rescue our enemies. We wish to rescue people in need, Hyunwoo corrected gently. Their politics are irrelevant to us. Then you are also our enemy, human. Last warning, surrender or be destroyed. Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment, studying the alien admiral's face. Finally he spoke. Admiral, may I ask how many species have surrendered to your fleet over the years? Hundreds, Kethvar replied proudly. All who face the Dominion learn wisdom. And how many have chosen to fight? Also hundreds. All were destroyed. I see, Hyunwoo said. Well, Admiral, I'm afraid we represent a third option. We choose neither surrender nor destruction. We choose to do our job. The transmission ended. On the Indomitable's bridge, Dong Hyun looked up from his engineering station. Captain, I'm reading massive energy buildups across their fleet. They're preparing to fire. All crew prepare for combat operations, Hyunwoo announced over the ship's communication system. Remember, we're here to save lives, not take them. Defensive posture only unless directly threatened. Boram received another transmission. Sir, it's from the detention levels of the Dominion flagship. Someone is using a coalition emergency frequency. Put it through. A woman's voice came through the speakers, speaking in accented but clear English. Human ship, this is Dr. Su Jin of the Earth Xenobiology Institute. I have been monitoring Dominion communications. Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons only. They have no experience with kinetic attacks. Ye Jin raised an eyebrow. That's useful information. Dr. Su Jin, Hyunwoo said, can you tell us anything else about their defensive systems? Their hulls are designed to absorb directed energy, plasma lasers, particle beams, but they have never faced solid projectiles at high velocity. Also, their tactical doctrine assumes all enemies will use similar technology. Understood. Can you maintain this channel? For a few more minutes? They will detect the transmission soon. Dong Hyun smiled grimly. Captain, the Dominion is about to learn why humans still use railguns. On the Dominion flagship, Kethvar watched the human vessel with growing irritation. It showed no signs of fear or preparation for surrender. Instead, it seemed to be moving toward the survivor locations with calm determination. Sir, his tactical officer reported, the human ship is not powering weapons. It appears to be configuring for rescue operations. They ignore our warnings, Kethvar said. Very well. All ships prepare Alpha strike pattern. Target the human vessel with full firepower. The bridge crew worked efficiently to coordinate the attack. 50 dreadnoughts aligned their main batteries, preparing to release enough energy to crack a planet's surface. No ship in known space could survive such an assault. "Admiral," the communications officer said, "we are detecting an unauthorized transmission from our detention level." "What?" Kethvar spun toward the communication station. "Someone is communicating with the human ship using encrypted channels. The signal originates from prisoner cell block 7. The human prisoner," Kethvar realized. "Cut the transmission immediately." But it was too late. Dr. Sujin's voice had already provided the information the Indomitable needed. On the human ship, the crew made final preparations. "All hands secure for combat," Hyunwoo announced. "Engineering, activate fold space defensive matrix." "Aye, Captain," Donghyun replied, folding space around the hull. "All sections report ready." The Indomitable's hull seemed to shimmer as advanced technology bent space around the ship. To outside observers, the vessel appeared to blur slightly, as if it existed in multiple positions simultaneously. "Weapons," Hyunwoo continued. "Load kinetic rounds in all railgun batteries. Targeting solutions for non-lethal disabling shots only." "Understood, sir," came the reply from the weapons officer. Admiral Kethvar watched the human ship's strange behavior with growing unease. Their hull seemed to be doing something impossible, creating distortions in space that his sensors could not properly analyze. "Science officer, what are they doing?" "Unknown, sir. The energy readings suggest they are manipulating spatial dimensions around their vessel. Our computers cannot model this technology." "Impossible. Space cannot be manipulated in such ways." "Nevertheless, sir, that appears to be what they are doing." Kethvar felt his first moment of doubt. Throughout Dominion history, no enemy had displayed technology they could not understand. Every species used variations of the same basic principles. Energy weapons, particle shields, faster than light drives. All worked within known physical laws. But this human ship was doing something that seemed to ignore those laws entirely. "Sir," the tactical officer announced, "all ships report ready for Alpha Strike." Kethvar stared at the human vessel. It continued moving calmly toward the survivors, showing no signs of concern about the overwhelming firepower pointed at it. "Admiral," came Captain Hyunwoo's voice over the communication channel, "we are beginning rescue operations now. Please do not interfere with our humanitarian mission." The casual confidence in that voice made Kethvar's skin crawl. No enemy had ever spoken to the Dominion with such complete lack of fear. "Fire," he commanded. 50 dreadnoughts unleashed their fury simultaneously. Enough energy to destroy a moon streaked across space toward the single human battleship.